I'm back. I guess I'm back. Babe, am I back?
Are you back?
I think I'm back.
Are we back?
We're back. We're back.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so right now it's kind of November. Hopefully I'll get this released before the end of the month, and I plan I will. Anyways, it's November, so it's starting to get cold, and right now it's actually really cold outside. It's about 32 degrees.
Soup season!
Soup season. So, for the first inaugural soup that I want to make for the season, I want to make Olive Garden's Zuppa Tuscana soup. Why, you ask? Well, you know, because I actually worked at Olive Garden for about 2-3 years, I want to say. And that was one of my favorite soups out of everything that was there, besides maybe the chicken parmesan. So I want to make the Zuppa Tuscana soup. It's very popular. I made it about a week or two ago, and a lot of my friends were like, oh, I want to know the recipe. I want to know the recipe. Well, here I am. So here it is. And it's actually pretty simple. There's about 8 ingredients for a regular Zuppa Tuscana soup. 10 if you're including some stuff that I'm gonna add some personal touches to, and I am not including my pantry staples, which is salt, pepper, olive oil, and spices. So the ingredients for this is salt pork.
What's salt pork?
Salt pork, good question. Salt pork is actually salted pork. It's kind of like bacon, but the only difference is it's not smoked. So it's very salty bacon, which will give it a lot of good flavor. We got onion, we got garlic, we got Italian sausage here, which is uncased. You could get cased too, we could just take it off the casing, but it's easier if you just got Italian sausage, about a pound. About 3 yellow onions, or not yellow onions, yellow potatoes, some kale. I got some heavy whipping cream, and my own homemade chicken stock. And then my 2 little additional ingredients is some sherry wine for cooking and cheese rinds, which you'll see in a minute here. So before I get started, you think you had some questions about onions or potatoes or whatever?
What kind of alternatives might you use? So could you use a red onion, or could you use russet potatoes, other types of greens?
Yeah, so for onions, I would either use a yellow or a white onion. Red onion would kind of give it some weird pink color to it, so I wouldn't use that.
Vidalia?
You could use Vidalia. It would give it a nice sweetness, but I mean, you still kind of want a little bit of the kick to it. So I'd stick with either a yellow or white. As for potatoes, actually the original ingredient really does use the russet potatoes, but I like yellow potatoes more, just for the fact that it stays together when cooked. Whereas the russet kind of mushes apart, so it's kind of like almost kind of like on the tendency of like wanting to be mashed potatoes. But the only downside is you really can't peel these. I mean, you can if you wanted to, but you're not normally, you don't peel these. And when you do eat it, it sticks, the skin kind of sticks on, so it's you know, kind of weird looking, but you know what? I'll take it, I don't care. As for greens, I do like using kale, but any kind of hearty greens can work, but I would stick with kale, regular kale. You'll just see it in the grocery. It just says kale. You know, you'll see the dino kale or whatever. Just use regular kale. I mean, in a pinch, maybe mustard greens or
Spinach?
Even spinach. But it's still kind of kale when it's cooked. Will still kind of keep its shape. Where spinach will wilt down, and so will mustard greens. So you know, you kind of want to look for kale, and it's kind of everywhere. So let's get to cooking.
What other dairy alternatives might you use?
So if you want to look here, you know, we got regular heavy whipping cream, but I know some people are very sensitive to lactose, so we found this Califia Farms. They're not paying me, so I don't even know how to say their name. But this is a heavy whipping cream substitute. It says like a 1-for-1. So this is vegan, kosher, gluten-free, soy-free, carrageenan-free. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. So you could use this. If you could just even leave out the heavy whipping cream if you want. You know, it's still a good soup. So this is what I'm going to be using today.
One more question on this ingredient side.
Yes.
Could you make it a vegetarian option?
You can make it a vegetarian option. So besides cutting out the salt pork, you know, because obviously, and the sausage, you know, and chicken stock, you know, these are clearly not vegetarian. But, you know, this you could substitute with vegetable stock. Sausages, you know, you could always find those plant-based ones to cook it up. As for getting rid of salt pork, I'd say maybe just, you know, chop up a lot of mushrooms because it has a lot of umami flavor to it. And then, you know, to substitute all the salt, maybe some soy sauce, you know, kind of give it like some depth of flavor to it.
All right, let's get cooking.
Let's get cooking. All right, we got the salt pork here, and make sure your knife is sharp. And I find if you actually flip it over to the meat side, just be very sturdy and slow. This is not a speed. We're not on Iron Chef, as much as I'd like to think I am. You get some good cuts here. All right, so for the astute viewers out there, you may have seen my little cutting board kind of shake a little bit. So here's a little trick, is you take a paper towel, you wet it with a little bit of water, throw it underneath, and voila, look at this, it doesn't move. So this is what you do to help stabilize your cutting board. Okay, so as you can see here, I have cut up the salt pork into small little chunks, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to throw it onto the pot cold. So we're going to throw it on pot cold. We're going to turn on the heat down to like about a medium high. And the reason I'm putting it into a cold so we could extract as much fat as it's from the salt pork as much as we can. And to help kind of jumpstart it a little bit and to give it a little bit more flavor, I like to put some olive oil into it as well too. So while we got that started, come over here. We're gonna start cutting up on the onion.
What's the secret to cutting onions?
Secret to cutting onions is know what the application you're gonna be using the onions for. So for this, I kind of want a nice good dice to it. If you're gonna make like a sandwich or make onion rings, obviously you're gonna want to make rings. So here is your trimmed onion. You're gonna have to cry a little because obviously once you cut the root end and the top end, and pretty much once you cut an onion, you're gonna start crying. I'm already kind of used to it, so it is what it is. So here's the onion, and I kind of like to say, hey, you know, think of it as like the globe, north, south. Now, if you're gonna do onion rings, then obviously you're gonna want to cut like pretty much like along the equator and the latitude. But now that we're doing kind of diced onions, you want to cut from north to south. So cut it in half. And then what I like to do is kind of cut just straight down like this. Some people kind of like to cut across here. I really don't see the need, because I mean, you know, we're going to be sauteing these onions and they're going to be cooked down anyway. I mean, feel free to comment. I don't care. You know, it is what it is. I mean, you know, you're the one cooking, so there's really no wrong or right way. Just as long as it tastes good to you and looks good to you, that's all that matters. You know, I'm not trying to be a 3-star Michelin chef here by any means. It's just me cooking, and that's what it should be. You know, just kind of enjoying the process. So kind of like right here. See, it's kind of diced. At the end, you know, you kind of have this. What I like to do is just kind of kind of go around the clock, I would like to say, you know, just kind of serve it like that. So you can kind of hear in the background the pork going. So I'll turn the heat down a little bit and just kind of let it go. And back to the onion. I'm gonna show it again. And the trick here is not to go all the way through, but to kind of like leave a little bit at the top so it still kind of sticks together, help you cut more. So once you're doing that, just cut. Cut across, and then once you're kind of here, I just do a little bit of this, and then, you know, just kind of irregular cuts. As I said, I am no chef. I am not classically trained. I am just a home cook. But you know, it gets the job done. So we're gonna go cook this a little bit more, and we'll be back. All right, welcome back. It's been about 10 minutes-ish, maybe 15. Not entirely sure. I don't even know. Anyways, if you take a look here in our little Dutch oven, the salt pork is starting to give its nice color. You can see there is a little good bit of grease on the bottom, which we need. And then there's a lot of fond. You know, this is not burned. This is actually good flavor here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our onions, come over here. We're gonna take our onions that we cut up, throw it in. And also the Italian sausage.
Why do you have a preference of the Dutch oven?
Dutch oven is nice, especially this one, since it's cast iron. It's heavy, it holds up a lot of heat, and the high walls help it so it doesn't evaporate the soup as much. You know, so this is like pretty much your perfect soup making pot. You know, this pot kind of goes into hibernation during the summer, but it comes out once fall hits, once it starts getting below 50 degrees. So if you can see here, I'm actually kind of scraping the bottom too while I'm tossing around the onion, sausage, and pork mixture.
How can you tell if it's burnt or fond?
Fond, if you can see here, look right here, this is browned. You know, think of it as like a dark mahogany color. So that's fond. Burnt is black. So if you think, you know, if you think toast, when you make toast, nice regular white toast, you know, you got your lightly toasted, and then you got your really brown toast, which has lots of flavor. But then, you know, if you leave it in a little bit too long in the toaster and it starts smoking, that's burned, and you know burnt toast never tastes good. So with that kind of going, I also like to add some of my spices. What I have here is some Italian seasoning blend. I can make my own, but you know, I do like to cheat sometimes. Like a nice good palmful, I guess. And for me, I'm a big fan of fennel seeds. Love me the fennel. But these are very, very strong. So something like this, not too much.
Up in the flavor on the sausage.
Up in the flavor of the sausage, you know. Apparently, supposedly, I'm not entirely sure, So anybody outside of Chicago can tell, kind of comment, but I guess the fennel in the sausage is, or heavy fennel in sausage is actually a Chicago thing. I'm not entirely sure. Please fact check me on it. I'd like to know.
Never knew that.
Then some salt, or not salt, pepper. I'm sorry, pepper. Don't salt it yet because, as you remember, we use salt pork. And what's in salt pork? Salt. So we could always add more salt, but you can never take out. Now that's going. I'll add my last kind of fresh ingredient here is the garlic. I don't know if this is enough garlic for...
Never enough garlic.
For my wife, but you know, whatever, it's fine. Don't have to worry about vampires coming after her. Now, the reason I added the garlic last instead of actually sauteing it in with everything else is garlic likes to burn real quick. So if you put it in first, you might have a chance of burning garlic, and as we said before, burnt food don't taste good. So we're almost basically done here. You know, so now we're just kind of sauteing the sausages. We're gonna actually add a little bit first of my own little twist to it, is some sherry cooking wine. You know, it's some very cheap wine. I think I paid $6 for this at Jewel. And it's just nice, gives it a nice flavor to it. Nothing too much, maybe about a quarter cup. And while you're doing that, you actually still wanna keep scraping the bottom of the pot here. And the best tool for it is a wooden spoon. Because if you use metal, you might scrape up your pan. And that's never good. So we're gonna let this sit here for a second, and I'll be back. All right, we are back. It's been cooking a little bit here, and so as I said, we are almost done. So all we have left to do is add some homemade chicken stock. And, you know, I kind of like to do a little bit of flex here. I did make my own chicken stock. And, you know,
the secret sauce.
The secret sauce. And actually, surprisingly, it's very easy. It just takes a lot of time, and takes a lot of time. But it's actually not that hard. So, open this up. Take some chicken stock, throw it in. I'd say that's about, I'm not entirely sure. What would you say? Well, actually, I have some here. 2 quarts, 6 quarts, so about a gallon chicken stock. Now to make chicken stock, I will show you, but it's gonna be a next episode thing, yeah. So anyways, we got this on here. We're gonna bring it to a boil, so it's gonna put a lid on it. Oh, before I bring it to a boil, I add my other secret ingredient. This is my little addition to it, but I know Italians like to do it on their soups as well too. Is you actually take Parmesan cheese rinds. This is not Parmesan, but kind of close to it. You take your cheese rinds and you just throw it in there. Gives another layer of flavor, and sometimes you find your little cheesy goodness on there, and it's amazing, isn't it?
Scrumptious.
It is scrumptious. So, I'm gonna kind of partly cover it up, bring it to a boil, and while we're waiting for that, I'm gonna show you how to prep these kale. So this is actually, we have leftover. There's really not much left. So we got some potatoes, some kale, and our little heavy cream. So for the potatoes, they're already pretty much cleaned. You know, if the eyes start sprouting, you know, just kind of scrape them off. But all you do is you just take your knife and thinly slice them, or run out to your local Target, get yourself a mandolin, You're just gonna go to town. But also, don't forget to use your little hand guard, because last thing you need to do is go to the ER on soup making nights. I like to start it with my fingers. Oops. Then once it starts getting down, that's when I use the hand guard. I said 3 through 4 potatoes. This is 3. Looks like it's gonna be, should be enough. So we can throw that in with the rest. Give it a good stir. Let it all come together.
Why sliced rather than chopped? Or diced, rather?
Sliced rather than diced. Honestly, this is the way Olive Garden's made it, so you're gonna have to ask those the OG chef of OG. I know, right? Don't you love it? Yeah. Ask them why they made it. I'm just doing a little copycat recipe of theirs. So, lastly, we got our kale here. You know, it'll come in bunches like this. Fun fact: kale is actually the relative of broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and all those other greens. They're a part of the Brassica family, if I am not mistaken. Why do I know this? I don't know. I just do. And kale is actually high in vitamin K. All right, so for the kale, as you see, I just kind of ripped off from the stem, and this is what you got. And what you want to do here is just kind of take the kale and just kind of just do a rough chop. There's really no wrong or right way to do it. Just obviously, you know, proper knife skills, keep your fingers back. You know, just once one way, 90 degrees, turn it the other way. That's your kale right there. Some of the small pieces you don't have to really worry about. So as I said, and there you go. And you think this might be actually a lot of kale, but once you actually throw it in there and kind of cook it, and wilts down a little, but as I said, it still keeps its shape, but it wilts down a little, and it will actually be enough for the soup here. So what I'm gonna do really here is just kind of just play the waiting game. We're just waiting for the soup to kind of boil, and all that's left is just add our heavy whipping cream and our kale. So we'll be back. All right, we got a rigorous boil here. And you can see this, the cheeses have kind of floated to the surface. And you know, if you get a nice hard cheese, it actually sticks together, but it gives off a nice flavor to it. So, the only way, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say enough to, I guess, a boil long enough just to cook through the potatoes? Yeah,
correct. And since these are Yukon Golds, they don't take too long. I mean, what I usually do with my fingers of asbestos is to actually pick it up. You need it. As you can tell, the skin still kind of stays on, but I'd rather have a structure of a potato than mashed potatoes in my soup. Potatoes are still not cooked, so we're gonna just let this simmer for a few more minutes. But while we're doing that, and I kind of chewing through my potato here with my asbestos fingers. I don't feel heat anymore. You know, shout out to you and Missy for pointing out that I don't feel stuff on my, feel hot stuff anymore.
I feel nothing.
I feel nothing. So anyways, we got here our Califia. I don't know, as I said.
Sure.
They're not paying me. I'm just using this. Our whipped cream substitute. And because I know some of my friends here, you know, have weak bloodlines and can't take dairy.
Like yourself.
I could drink dairy-ish. Let's not get into that rabbit hole. And we'll just add to it. Actually, to be honest with you, this is my first time actually using this. So we're kind of a little bit in this boat together here. It shakes like dairy. And this is about a half a liter, or 500 milliliters, a pint, a little over a pint. I mean, they're using metric. I don't know. Seems a little thick, so what I also like to do is just add a little water to it, make it a little bit more viscous. Haha! That's what you want to hear. And there we go. I'll bring it back to a boil and let it simmer for a few more minutes to get the potatoes cooked through, and we'll be back. All right, now we are basically on the home stretch. So all that's left, the potatoes are basically done here. You can see the cheese, there's cream in here, here's the sausages, you know, so this is basically all done. And the nice thing about this is, minus the cutting board, this is a one-pot meal. So, you know, you can save your dishwasher for another day. So what's left here is just adding in the kale. And back when I was at Olive Garden, this was actually the last thing we'd always have. You know, we'd have the soup all made. You know, they were in small batches, and basically we'd ask for a fresh thing of soup, you know, every, gosh, I want to say half hour, if not even, you know, less or whatever, just depending on how popular it is. And they'd have bags of kale, and we just open up the bags of kale and just throw it in the soup. And we would let the heat kind of cook it. All you need to do is grab a spoon, mix it in, and as you can see, as you said, you know, as I said before, you thought, hey, this is gonna be a lot of kale, but it has integrated really well.
It's a nice color.
It is actually. There's some science between why when you actually put in plants and some hot food and it turns into this bright green, and then, you know, if you keep it in, it turns into some drab green. There's some science behind it. I'm not entirely sure. I know Alton Brown has said it before, so find him. Or maybe at him. We'll see. So anyways, this is it. You are done. We are done. So this is our Zuppa Tuscana soup here. Any questions?
Not today, sir.
No? Okay. So this is it. And yeah, so basically, you know, welcome back to my cooking channel. You know, it's you know, it's been a while. I mean, what, we have a kid now, don't we?
Wee baby.
We have a baby, a 13-month-old baby. You could hear her. She just coughed.
Poor baby.
Yeah. So yeah. So hopefully making more food stuffs, more food channels, more foods for you guys. So, you know, drop a comment, let me know. You know, I got some other things I I want to do as well too. You know, I got I'm making my own bourbon, kind of ish. You know, I got something in the works for that. And then also, you know, maybe start rating some sandwiches around Chicago. So, you know, and so to dress it up, you know, feel free to add whatever you want. You know, when I was working at Olive Garden, I added croutons to it. I added cheese, red pepper flakes for a nice touch to it. So there's really no wrong or right way to do it. And you know, as for the flavor, you know, you got the richness of the pork, but then also the kale, you know, brings a bright flavor to it as well too. You know, it's all in there. And then, you know, you got your potatoes and your soup. So this is a nice, good, hearty meal for winter. So, babe, are you excited for this?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, welcome back. I guess welcome back me, and you know, like, subscribe. Let me know what you want me to make, and you know, we'll just go from there. So yeah, welcome back. Thank you.